Here's something uncomfortable. The moment you decide to actually pursue a dream, some of the worst advice you'll ever receive is going to come from people who genuinely love you. They're not trying to sabotage you. They're scared for you. But fear dressed up as wisdom is still fear. And today, I'm going to hand you 10 of the most common lies you'll hear, along with real proof for why every single one of them is wrong. Let's begin. You can follow your dreams someday. Right now, be responsible. Colonel Harlan Sanders spent decades bouncing between failed ventures: a farmhand, a streetcar conductor, an insurance salesman, a service station operator who went bankrupt more than once. He didn't franchise his fried chicken recipe until he was 65 years old, an age most people associate with retirement, not the beginning of a global empire. Someday convinced him to wait for most of his life. The version of him that finally succeeded only existed because eventually he stopped waiting for it. You're totally screwed if it doesn't work out. Early in his career, a struggling writer threw the first few pages of a new manuscript about a bullied teenage girl straight into the trash, convinced it was worthless. His wife pulled the pages back out of the bin and told him to finish it. That manuscript became Carrie, his first published novel and the beginning of one of the most successful writing careers in modern publishing. The worst-case scenario was never everything falls apart forever. It was one draft in one trash can that almost never got a second look. 3. It's safer to stay at your day job. Julia Child spent years working a stable government desk job before she ever picked up a chef's knife professionally. She didn't enroll at the famous Le Cordon Bleu cooking school until she was in her 30s, with no restaurant experience and, by her own account, no particular natural talent for it yet. Staying at the safe job would have protected her from failure. It also would have quietly guaranteed the world never got the show, the cookbooks, or the woman millions of home cooks credit with teaching them to actually enjoy cooking. That's impossible. For decades, physiologists insisted the human body was simply not built to run a mile in under 4 minutes, that the heart and lungs would fail under the strain. In 1954, a British medical student named Roger Bannister ran it in 3 minutes and 59.4 seconds. Once people saw it done, the impossible barrier fell apart almost immediately. Dozens of runners broke the same barrier within just a few years. Impossible rarely means impossible. It usually just means nobody's done it in front of you yet. 5. Only a lucky few make it. Sara Blakely sold fax machines door to door for years before she cut the feet off a pair of pantyhose one night trying to solve her own wardrobe problem. With no background in fashion or retail and just $5,000 in savings, she built that idea into a billion-dollar shapewear company. She wasn't luckier than the people around her. She was just the one who acted on the idea instead of just having it. You might fail, and failing is bad. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school varsity basketball team as a sophomore, watching from the stands as classmates less talented than him made the cut instead. He later said he used that memory as motivation every single time he stepped onto a court for the rest of his career. The failure didn't end his story. It became the exact fuel that wrote the rest of it. 7. You will sacrifice too much for too little. There's a remarkable species of Chinese bamboo that, once planted, shows almost no visible growth above the soil for up to 5 years, no matter how much it's watered and cared for. Then, within about 6 weeks, it can shoot up more than 90 feet. The years underground weren't wasted. The roots were quietly building a foundation strong enough to support that explosive growth. Sacrifice that doesn't show results yet isn't proof that nothing is happening. Sometimes it's proof that something enormous is being built where you simply can't see it. 8. You need more money saved before you start. Two roommates who couldn't afford their rent once inflated a few air mattresses on their apartment floor and offered them to strangers attending a conference with no hotel rooms left in town. That small, low-budget idea to cover 1 month's rent eventually became Airbnb, now valued in the tens of billions of dollars. They didn't wait for capital. They used the resources already sitting in their living room.
9. You don't need any help. It's smarter to go alone. In 1727, a young Benjamin Franklin started a small weekly discussion club called the Junto, a group of tradesmen and shopkeepers who met regularly to critique each other's projects, share ideas, and hold each other accountable. That small circle helped shape some of Franklin's earliest civic and business successes, long before he became a household name. Even one of history's most famous self-made men wasn't actually self-made. He built a room full of people first. 10. That sounds like a lot of hard work. There's a sushi chef in Tokyo who has spent more than 7 decades perfecting the exact same craft. The same rice, the same knife work, the same relentless attention to a handful of ingredients, and is still, by his own account, trying to get slightly better every single day. Customers travel from around the world and wait months for a seat at his 10-stool counter. Yes, it's a lot of hard work. It's also, for him, clearly not a burden. That's the whole secret hiding inside this lie. The work only feels unbearable when it's attached to the wrong dream.
Here's the surprising part. Every single person in these 10 stories heard some version of these exact same lies. Sanders was too old. King's book was worthless. Blakely had no business background. Two broke roommates had no capital. None of it stopped them, because none of it was actually true. It just sounded true, the way most fear does when it's dressed up as caution. You are probably hearing at least one of these 10 lies right now from someone who loves you and means well. You get to decide whether it's actually advice or just fear wearing a disguise. If this reached you at the right moment, you already know which dream it's talking about. I'll see you in the next one.